Here we go. So welcome to the Being Reintegrated podcast. My name is Tim Wright. I'm pretty excited to tell you the direction that we're going right now. As you all know, I was going to do a commentary on the treatise of reintegration of beings, which I still plan on doing. But as I'm doing this, I'm also working on the reconstruction of the Elu Koan. So going forward, I am going to be making available privately to Patreon subscribers the order documents going through Serge Callier and the Seven Seals, along with the footnotes and references that are made to all of the French documents that would be needed to make a proper review. So we can use Serge, who's a scholar, as the foundation, and then going forward we can use more and more of the materials that he's sourcing. I feel like in that way we'll get a teaching background for everything that needs to be talked about. As I've gone through this, you could see we are developing what's called the Order des Coens Ressuscités. It's the resurrected order of the Elu Koan. So this is what is being worked on right now. And so you will be able to, as a Patreon member, purchase the book, which is going to be released privately through Lulu. No one else will be able to have this, and basically it's due to copyright reasons primarily, but due to the fact that it contains copyrighted translations of French materials, we're able to offer it to Patreon subscribers as a non-commercial volume that's for the use of members of the Order des Coens Ressuscités. So we're starting with the blue band, and we're going to go all the way through the degrees. You're going to get an education like no one has ever given on the Elu Koan. So we'll utilize Society of Martinez de Pasquale newsletters. We're going to utilize Koan commentaries. We're going to utilize all kinds of stuff that you may or may not have heard of, and including French letters, French books, scholars, all the materials that are possible to get a hold of, I have access to, and I'm making available through these translation private Elu Koan documents for those who are interested. So I'm really interested in showing you more information about this first degree. And we have Serge Callier. Now I'll go through a version of it, which let me see if you can just see it. I want to make it available to anybody who wants to look at it. So let's see if I can get my document going, and then that way we can just share it. Let's see here. Nope, this doesn't want to work right now. Here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and cut this out. But you're seeing the Word document right now. Let's see if we can crop this window. So we'll take a second. Filter, book crop. I'm gonna filter it out. It's pretty good. That's good. So we're going to go ahead and show you the book that members can have access to. This is the blue book of the Order des Cohens Ressuscités. So you'll see it's the Seven Seals, Symbolic Apprentice, and we're going right through the material and showing you exactly what it is. So I wanted you all to see this. It's basically Serge Callier's first chapter. So that's not a big deal, other than I made it privately. I translated the chapter for myself. So this is all here, the first chapter. And then what you're going to start seeing about page 20 or 24 is we're going to go through it, and then I'm going to give you a sneak preview of what it is. You can see that it's a nice book. It's not made yet, so we're just looking at the prototype right now. But it will be made because I can make the book, and I'll make it to be available in print. So here's the Order commentary and study. Hopefully you can see it all. Let's see if we can get a little bit bigger. No. There we go. So now you can see it all. The Order Commentary and Study says, this is my commentary, I wrote it, so it's not copyrighted material. In the 6 Days of Creation, the treatise references section 227 in connection with the first degree symbolic apprentice. Vivenza discusses this in his book, La Doctrine of Reintegration, in pages 58 through 59, as follows. One should take care to distinguish the emanation, quote, of the first atom from the creation, quote, of the same atom in material form. The latter realized as punishment for his transgression, introducing him into time, space, and gross incarnation of the flesh, a flesh received as a ransom for sin. The biblical account of creation in 6 days concerning the generation of material forms and the emergence of clay of the fallen creature is further explained and interpreted by Martinez. While he attributes the idea of the material world to God, he denies its creation in 6 days, stating, "The number of days that I attribute to the 6 operations of creation cannot belong to the Eternal, who is an infinite being, without time, bounds, or extent. Rather, these 6 days signify the duration and limits of the course of the same matter, meaning this matter will last 6,000 years in all its perfection, and on the 7th fall into a terrible decay, where it will subsist until its complete dissolution. The septenary number, which gave perfection to all its created beings, is the same that will destroy and abolish all things. Just as it operated in the beginning to sustain all that exists in this material universe, so will it operate at the end of the demolition of its work. All will draw closer to its end by gradation, returning to its first principle." And that's Treatise section 227. I said, of particular interest here is the directive to distinguish the emanation of the first atom from the creation of the same atom in material form. This commentary is significant to the treatise, aligning with the 4-based and 3-based laws in Saint Martin's writings. Here, the terms creation and emanation are used consciously by Martinez to represent distinct aspects of divine action. In discussions with bishops from the Antiochian line, I proposed that this distinction reflects the cataphatic creator and the apophatic emanator. The subtlety in this concept was dismissed, yet it was very subtle in the treatise that initially captured my interest. It was this very subtlety in the treatise that initially captured my interest. Martinez frames the physical universe as the terrestrial immensity and conceives of Adam's state in terms of salt, sulfur, and mercury, which encode the concept of the created Adam. This understanding emerged only gradually, but as I explored, more subtle indications and keys to the Masonic and ultra-Masonic realms of instruction became apparent. The Leon's reference throughout this lecture are enlightening. Amadou's commentary on these lessons highlights the notion of a receptacle symbolized by the intersection of the horizontal with the perpendicular. That's not Amadou, that's Callier. I should change that. Commentary on these lessons highlight the notion of a receptacle symbolized by the intersection of the horizontal with the perpendicular. This arrangement, which reveals the receptacle, also emphasizes the balance of the horizontal, a nod to the secret of the Order of the Royal Secret. And for those who don't know, this was the order that predated the Scottish Rite. This is the work of Stephen Morin, a sovereign leader, Inspector General of the Order of the Royal Secret, who went to basically Barbados and in that area started spreading the Order of the Royal Secret, which was 25 degrees, into the United States as the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite. So you can read my colleague Wages' book on that, and De Hoyos. You can go and get the book. Those are really, really good volumes. I have them myself, so it's not like I'm telling you to spend money I haven't spent. But it's not relevant to this conversation. Only the fact that the nod to balance of the horizontal is from the Order of the Royal Secret. It says this concept, according to Serge Callier, was either integral to the teachings or an insight he had when examining the ritual documents. Particularly fascinating is how the receptacle forms through a line of more, ya, in, serving as both the password and the ordination formula. Callier describes this as longitude and latitude, bringing a nautical figurism into the original rituals. Now, what figurism is what the entire book of Treaties of Reintegration is basically doing. It's presenting to you in known references an unknown definition. That's what the major book by Gerard Gandet is about, as he goes through 600 pages of the figurism of Martinez. It's an amazing book. The Illuminism and Figurism, I think it's called, but you can see it up there. So, referenced footnotes. The following sections list footnotes by section to assist students with additional resources. Key texts like the treatise on the reintegration of beings and the Lyon's lessons are just a few of the essential sources. Many references in these works are challenging to obtain, and the interconnectedness of the Elukoan writings requires substantial foundational knowledge. For example, while the Blue Band's first degree is informed by the Thori documents, these alone do not clarify nuances such as the password significance or subtler aspects revealed through this commentary. Therefore, the following commentary is indispensable to understanding the tradition, providing resources and context from a range of sources. So you see, this kind of material is something that I'm working on for everybody who subscribes to the Patreon. I'm going through adding resources that are very, very valuable. I'm going to turn this off now. The resources are very valuable because what it's going to do is provide you with Elukoan materials that you wouldn't get anywhere else. These are thoroughly researched by the leading article of Serge Callier, and then I am simply highlighting some of the footnotes and bringing to you the obscure texts and references that they make, as well as translating them and offering them as a reading, teaching augmentation to your ritual work. So in this book will also be the practices of what I found out the owner, but I won't say his name. Anyway, I found the practices of the Elukoan through the Temple Elukoan material. So that'll be included in English in this book. So these books you can go and get at Lulu when they're available. This is just to show you what is going to be made available to only Patreon subscribers. So it will not be a book that you can buy on the open market. I am only making it available as a link to my Patreon subscribers. So if you want to pay for the subscription and get the link and buy it, then cancel your subscription. Of course, that's a way that you can do it. I'm not trying to make this hack proof. I'm just trying to put behind the Patreon service the books that are still in copyright, but that I am making available for personal study, and you can purchase as well for personal study. You're only purchasing the book from me. This is a book that I made and translated, so essentially it's a work that you won't get anywhere else. Unless you have these resources, then feel free to do the study yourself and publish it, but most won't do that. So I'm making this a readily easy available reference for you to be able to study through the degree you're working on, and because there'll be all 11 degrees. I'm going to do the blue band, the black band, which is the 4th degree, the red band, which is 5 through 8. We have the chevalier, in French it's the knight degrees, the knight of the east and the commander of the east, and then you'll have the Rocroi. Callier goes through all of this, offering references, showing us all of his footnotes, and then I am going to provide an extensive commentary and some translations and maybe some documents that you haven't been able to receive before, since this main chapter that I'm showing you right now on Patreon is actually including for the first time Amadou's reference to the central axis fire, including Callier's reference to the Eleazar lessons, and it has the central axis fire as well. So one of my favorite diagrams is from a friend. You can see it right there. And that diagram is showing you a special view that we're probably going to adopt in the order for the central axis fire. So it's super important to read this material thoroughly, because I will make reference to it. I'll be like on the page of the 1st degree handbook in the future, and you're going to have to actually buy the book to know what I'm referencing, because I'm not going to cover things that are already done in these handbooks. 11 handbooks exclusive to you as a Patreon member. Just wanting you to know that that's what's going to be made available. Now, because they're physical books, I'm not going to release them digitally because I don't want any issues with the copyright. But they're physical books that you're going to have. Because they're physical books, unfortunately, you'll have to buy them. But they won't be that expensive. I'm going to try to make them very reasonable in cost. Around 200 pages each. And then each grade will have its catechisms. So for the symbolic apprentice, you'll have at the end of the book all of the catechisms that we've collected from the open sources. So with this study, the additional resources and the catechisms, you'll be fully able to comprehend the nuance of the ritual, should you be fortunate enough to have the rituals themselves performed on you, or perform them yourself, depending on how you're going to do that. But if not, you're at least going to get a theoretical study way beyond what you're going to get on the open market on the Patreon. So thanks for being a subscriber. Thanks for your support. And I hope you enjoy the handbooks for the time that comes going forward.